that Precious is always like hot, articulate, and confident. Like you just are always so good that like you get to do whatever you want, and that's the point of anti-professionalism.
Yes, most definitely.
Greetings, humans. This is Chuck Copenspire here, and I want you to win. This is my first ever podcast, and I was very fortunate to record with Precious L. Williams, the killer pitchmaster. Don't know who she is. You will after this. Just as a quick intro, I'm Chuck. I am working on a book called Anti-Professional, and I am interviewing a whole bunch of incredible entrepreneurs and leaders who are either redefining or dismantling the concepts of professionalism. The point of this, I was writing the book by myself, and I realized that I don't know enough from my perspective about professionalism or about dismantling professionalism, so I need some experts. And I was very fortunate that the first person to film with me is Precious Williams, who I would say is, there's a poem in the episode about it, you'll hear about her, but she's amazing. If you could support this podcast in some way, that would be very, very nice of you. You could like it, you could share it with people who might cry if they listen to it. I like it when people cry. Hello.
Oh my God.
I decided, I was like, well, if I'm talking to a lingerie founder, I decided to wear my little lingerie.
Wow. I don't even know where to go right now. That is not what I was expecting. You look beautiful.
Thank you. So do you. I love the sparkle. I love the purple.
You know, you said you was going to do something. I said, well, you know, let me come through and do that too.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, if it's going to be a video podcast, we have to give them a show.
I mean, why not?
Okay.
It does.
All right. I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm going to tune into my podcaster persona, and we're going to do that. Hello, greetings, humans. I'm here with Precious Williams on the first ever episode of the Anti-Professional Podcast. I've never done a podcast before, and I am very grateful to have an incredible guest who has guested many times here with me today, Precious Williams. And because I was so grateful to have Precious here today, I wrote an intro for Precious that I would like to share. And it goes like this. I wrote this 5 minutes ago, by the way. It goes, Precious doesn't even begin to cover it. Priceless, unflappable, life lived in go mode, the lightning and thunder, the flick of a match strike in a cave of wonder, a wealth of accomplishments too long to list, but the gist is that Precious leaves us breathless. Her essence is endless, her depth of expression, the pearls and the seeds from hope and progression, sharing hard-earned lessons from depression, regression, and sharing what happens when we decide to get up again. Thank you, Precious, for sharing this space with me. Let's melt some faces and hopefully walk away with the fire in our hearts stoked to the brim. Let's share and be candid our wishes and whims, dismantle oppression and professionalism. You, me, and Precious, we're all going to win together. And yeah, that's how I feel about you, Precious.
When I say I'm so blown, I'm so blown. That was amazing. I mean, what should I expect? Creativity. I mean, what should I expect?
I hope that this is unlike any podcast interview you've ever been on. That's the goal.
We already started off different from anything, so yes.
Well, what I told people is that Precious is so good at talking and like teaching and all the things that you do that I could like pass out from having a panic attack and you would carry the whole show. So that gives me a little bit of confidence, But the first question I have queued up for you, if you're ready to dive in, is who are you and what do you stand for?
Ready.
Who are you and what do you stand for?
Yeah, a little girl from St. Louis, Missouri. I am a forgotten and abandoned and rejected child. I grew into a woman who was defined by achievements. I never trusted people. Great relationships, bad relationships, stone cold. And what I've turned into is truly a butterfly. There's been a metamorphosis.
Mm-hmm.
So today I am caring and I am loving. And I reach out to people. I look back and I mean, this is such a powerful question, but I just think about it. I love calling people, I love meeting with people, and I love looking people in the eye and see me, not anything else around me, not what they've read about, not what they've heard about, but me, and there's a fire that burns deep within me. I am determined. And what do I stand for? Just being bold and badass, not allowing others to define for me who I am, what box I should be in, and how I should show up. And that means so much more to me today. In fact, I was on a call with Spelman's sister, I went to Spelman College. And we were talking about how in your 20s and 30s, you think you know something, but you don't.
No.
You don't.
I promise I'm talking to you. I'm just plugging my laptop in because apparently it stopped. It stopped.
It stopped playing.
It stopped charging, which is not good.
Oh, girl, well, do you need me to start over or anything?
No, we are good. We did not lose you. Okay. Please continue. I just didn't want yeah.
No, I saw you moving. I said, okay. No. And so when I tell you, I used to think of myself as a rose that grew from concrete. Babe, we have so many walking wounded, and there's so many people whose stories are going to die with them. And I ain't going out like that. I want you to know who I am, and I want to rage and fight against a society that's going to tell me who and what I should sound like, look like, talk like, and everything. We're like, no, we got too many women and men and those who have different pronouns. And I want you to be able to say, this is how I want you to address me. This is how you're going to deal with me. And I can exit stage left. And that's the greatest gift of all, is I don't have to stay here. I don't have to stay here. I'm not going to let you tell me who I am. And the gift of age is I didn't have that in my 20s and 30s. And so I stand for just being bold and badass and defining for yourself who you really are and what you really want to do. And if it seems impossible, it always seems impossible until it's done. So go do it.
Yeah. I mean, what do you have to lose from just trying?
Right. Even back in the day when you might not have been able to do anything but go to work and come home, and that's about all you have. And that's why I think technology can be this gift, and it can also be a curse too. So marrying the old and the new has been beautiful, but also just understanding. I hope we don't lose human connection, and that we can have things like this where you can feel me and I can feel you. And it's not a, hi, I'm so delighted to be here.
Where we're all trying to, be socially acceptable for.
Yeah.
The other day I was like, oh, of course I dress for the male gaze. I want to terrify them.
I just want to be like, actually, as a full figure diva, I'm like, I'm a whole snack. Come fetch me. Not. Now I know what society will tell you. I tell you what's really good in these streets.
And the things that people want, people desire, and it's just there's so much. We're gonna dive into all of it. But
can be equal opportunity offender.
equal opportunity offender.
I'm like, love is love. Come get me. Come get me. Come get me.
Okay. I have some questions for you. I want to make sure that we cover. Okay, make sure we cover professionalism and all of that. I wanted to know what your experience has been with the concept of professionalism. It could be good or bad.
No. So my experience with professionalism started way back when I was young, and it meant wearing a suit. It meant the tone and my cadence sounding a certain way. It meant being quiet and doing the work. It meant letting others shine while me being in the background doing the real heavy duty lifting. As I've grown and become a serial entrepreneur, an international professional speaker, best-selling author, something has changed. I have no desire to live up to something that I don't think most people can or most people want to at this point. And there's a great Tiger one always says, when you step into your purpose, another woman or man can step into hers. And sometimes people can't see it until they see someone who does it. When people meet me or they book me or, we just randomly together, No one's ever said, you know what, you're not professional. They're just like,
I try to imagine somebody
oh,
doing that.
no, but it will come out in a different way. Where's
Hmm.
your confidence come from?
Hmm.
You know what? I love the way you dress. Did you ever encounter anything? I'm like, no. And I think part of it is I'm not in corporate America in the way that I'm employed. So if you're going to bring me in, you're going to bring me in to shake the tables. If you want average, random, and ordinary, you go with everybody else. But if you want someone who's going to shake the table and has the depth of experience, who has the talent and the skill set, and we'll bring a little razzle dazzle, a little Liberace up in here, you call me. And I think that's the power of whatever the word is, and redefining it for yourself. So professionalism started off that way, and now it's yes, I have talent, skill sets, and abilities, but the way I dress reflects not only just a brand, but it reflects me. And I listen, all eyes on that. Like Tupac.
Yeah, it's an unforgettable experience. I mean, I watched your talk that you gave at the what was Pat's conference in Wisconsin?
Oh, it was the Idea Collective retreat.
Yeah.
I see Retreat 22. Yes.
Yeah, I watched your speech. That made me cry. I read your book. That made me cry. So like, it's like you're not here to like let everything be the way that it was. Like things are changed by your presence and by your, and that's just like an undeniable fact about you. And the fact that you've chosen to embrace that, I think is incredible. And you also mentioned something about like almost like a lack of, can't remember the exact word you used. It was something like, we need to see people like us taking up space so that we can give ourselves permission to take up space. And I think that's it's so scary and hard to be the first, but it's why I get out of bed every morning. I'm like, where are the femme trans dudes giving you sales advice? They don't exist. And so you don't see femme trans dudes in business.
That's why I love your posts, because they are so thought-provoking in a way that it's not even, some people just do things for controversy, right? They just do it. But it's something that someone's really embodying it. So if you're challenging the status quo or you're going against the grain, which I feel like I do, it is like, I remember at IC Retreat 22, I was supposed to wear this yellow dress and come in. It was not, speaking at 9 a.m., it's the keynote. And something in me said, no, I'm going to bring the daytime to the nighttime, the nighttime to the daytime. So I wore this black one shoulder jumpsuit with a gold band around it. And I don't know why, I was so afraid. I don't know why, because maybe I don't always speak at 9 a.m. But, as they started playing my music and I'm walking to the stage and I'm telling everybody, get on your feet. And reminding them, the speakers you think you've heard before, who can just walk in. I'm going to come through the audience because I want us to have this collective experience. But when I stand on this stage and I take off my glitterati top, we about to go there. So don't confuse me with anyone else. And as a speaker, if I'm not going to elevate this experience, if I am not going to do something you're going to be shocked by, if I'm not going to do, then you shouldn't hire me.
Yeah.
If I can't engage, you shouldn't hire. If you want a lecturer, you can find that person. And I remember being on that stage and looking out at the audience. And I don't know if you could see this in the video. There were people literally making comments the entire time I spoke. Like they were just in it. It was a golden girl on stage. It was so funny. And it was men and it was women. It was just, it was just crazy. And they were feeling me. And you have to make that decision with professionalism. You have to make that decision. If I want them to address me a certain way, how do I take it to that next level? So, for some speaking engagements, they want you to come through this door. They want you to do this and that. And I'm like, I'm not doing none of that. And as a keynote, why would I? I'm going to make it professional, but I want this to be memorable. I want you to be able to look at videos from as time goes on and you realize there's something different about what I did. So thank you for feeling that. I had a woman yesterday. She looked at videos of me from YouTube from 9 years ago. And we spoke and she said, Precious, I think people think you're an overnight sensation. Like this just happened. She said, but if you look back 10 years, that's how far back on YouTube you go.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw the beginning, and I see the way you've changed over time.
Mm-hmm.
You were always confident. And I said, well, yeah, because I can't get on this stage with the supposed greats and be like, I'm just trying to get in where I fit. I'm like, no. Game recognizes game, and I'm gonna make sure you understand that you may have a bigger name, but you're about to hear my name.
And I feel like what I'm imagining when you say that, it's almost like standing there and like letting lightning strike where you stand, and like just being able to channel that much, that thing that wants to come through you.
Why did you make me think of She-Ra and he meant like She-Ra Principal Power, or I don't know why that just came to like, yes.
We need a full graphic of you, like with a Sailor Moon transformation and everything.
Yeah. It's like, I think it's in Imagine Dragons with thunder and lightning. Like, I heard this and I was like, I've never heard that song, but I'm winning. Yes.
I can see it. So, okay. So that reminds me, a question I had for you was, I feel like I'm still kind of like, I haven't quite blown up yet in a way that I feel like I will. And I know that there must have been a point for you where you were still kind of in like the dreamer phase, where you were like, I can do this. I know it. I believe in myself. I'm going to keep writing. And I just want to know, like, what was it like for you when you were there?
I'm still a dreamer. I do think that when it comes to, being the killer pitch master, when you lose the love of your life, right? And you don't know what's going to happen. And when he died, I just, like, so much died with me. There was no will to live or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And to come back with a vengeance and still have people tell you, no, not ready for prime time. Your best is over. Now you're making me mad.
Mm-hmm.
Make me angry because you're not recognizing the gift in front of you. But it's okay. Because my higher power told me to go where I'm celebrated, not tolerated. And so some of y'all are so used to sleeping on me. Like, what did Drake say? Whatever. Like, you slept on me. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go somewhere where they're not going to sleep on me and they don't know my backstory. And since they don't know my backstory, it doesn't come up. They just see the talent. And people recognize immediately that she has a talent most people don't have. And so being in these other groups, whether I could afford it or not, sometimes just knowing the right people, they ain't ask you for no money.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. And so, when they started, booking me and referring me, I saw the transformation happen. So when I entered rooms, there's these people who were friends just because they could see where you were going and wanted to be a part of it. I also think that when I wrote my first book, Bad Bitches Empowered Pitches for Women Entrepreneurs and Speakers Only, I had the idea 3 years before I wrote the book. Finally putting it out, knowing that that's the way I write, knowing how hard it was to write, because I speak all the time. And for people to say, I hear you speaking. Like, your words are you. It's not you making this up, right? When it went to number 1, which sounds like the most greatest experience, and it was, right? It's the first book, 4-time Book of the Year finalist. But I had to go against the grain of people saying, no, buy it. The title was crass. All of these things, not understanding, y'all bought, go to F to sleep. You're a badass at making money. And these people look nothing like me. But you going to hold me back and say, I got to be the prim and proper, whatever. I'm like, who are y'all to say who I need to be?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. Why am I listening to people who've never written a book? Let alone a best-selling book? Who am I to listen to people who are going to tell me about my very skin color? There's no way I can get into places, and now what you doing? Like Cardi B said when she was on Love and Hip Hop, I think there was the first reunion that they had that she was on, and she said there was a woman in the audience, and she said, "Didn't you say I wasn't gonna make it? Didn't you say because I was a stripper? Didn't you?" Obviously, I've never, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And now look at you watching me. Look at you. And I thought, so I've had those moments, even though I can't say them out loud.
Mm-hmm.
Part of it is go where you're celebrated and not tolerated, where your backstory does not even matter. And the second thing is, if they're going to talk about me anyway, Bonnie Ray said, let's give them something to talk about.
Agreed.
The more you flex that muscle of, I hear what you're saying, I'm not going to let it deter me. That's how it is. It's like my boys. Precious, if you're ever going to be a media, you need to sound like you're from the Northeast, but you're from the Midwest. I'm sure my accent has changed over time because I've been all over the world, but there is no doubt that I didn't grow up in New York City. And yet I've been in media around the world. So I know there's a step-by-step process that others have. I just being bold and badass, I just don't subscribe to it and keep it moving.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And I hear you, actually. I feel like part of what started this journey for me is I got laid off last year. And I was like, oh, me? I was like, you let me go? I was like,
the pearls. Yes. Yes.
Like, and so there is that sort of like, I'm a little bit mad that you just let this go. And I was like, what? Time for me to, and I also was like, I'm not ready to get hurt again. I'm not ready to be underestimated and like not listened to when I have good ideas, because my ideas are good enough that now people pay me by the hour to listen to my ideas. And
I did not hear that. They pay her by the hour, which means that her work is worth paying for. And they probably pay you in an invoice and you ain't got to wait 2 weeks for your pay. Yeah, I'm gonna be quiet.
Yeah, and I don't get, well, it's interesting because that whole whistleblower or the gag clause with severance, like if you signed a severance package, you weren't allowed to talk, and now you are. I'm still going to work through that before I have some stories to share, but I have some stories. But yeah, that's
we all got.
Yeah. I worked in film before Me Too, and that was whenever I got groped on set by my boss, I was told that that's just how things are in film, and then I got fired for reporting it, so that was fun. I can talk about that, but the more recent ones,
I'm sure.
Yeah, it's been messy. I'm glad it's getting better,
and I'm sure even some other places, whether it's film or this is still happening.
Yeah,
and it's very scary that your job could be over because someone is overstepping their boundaries with you.
Yeah, by having self-respect, you can get fired. But that's the great thing about working for yourself is nobody can fire me. I fire people when they're annoying to work for, actually.
Can we talk? Yes. And I think that's so when you first start a business or enterprise or a hobby or whatever, there are things you just don't know. So when I started, everybody who came through the door, you can pay $2.30. I'm with it. Over time, you're like this. I don't care what they pay me. I don't want to work with that person. And it takes place over time. You don't know that in the beginning. You're just happy. Rent is $2 high in New York. I'll take anybody. Now it's like, oh no, that's a problem. And even if I have to go back to eating ramen noodles or I got to go back to that homeless journey, that one right there is going to take me to the grave. So I'd rather claw my way back out than deal with this person.
That's something I think is interesting too, because I've experienced houselessness also. I left an abusive relationship and was on the streets of Spokane, Washington in January, like got the full foot, my feet were wet the whole time and like had problems from that. It was an experience, but I lived through that, and I'm okay, and so I think there's almost like a power for me from, I was so afraid of that happening. And when it happened and I made it through it and I got a job and I got, an apartment and I figured it out, I was like, okay, well then what do I have to be afraid of? Because I got out of there. And it's not like I want to go back, but knowing that I am capable of solving from there made me feel less afraid, of taking risks, I guess. And I've been through a lot more since then. You and I have talked a little bit about, I had an unplanned pregnancy, which I decided to complete on my own, which I thought was going to be okay. And it was going great. I had an apartment and a job. And then, the pandemic happened and then the apartment above mine flooded and I became homeless in the same week as the daycare closed. And it was a lot. And I also lived through that, and so now when people try to when people are mean to me on the internet and stuff like that, I'm like, why would I care? Yeah.
This right here, this trolling is cute. And it's good that you have time to dog me out. What are you doing in your life now?
Yeah.
And as I have to say to certain people, so rarely do I ever go back and forth with it, because I'm like, dude, not because they're insignificant, but it's one of those things like, my name, but I don't know yours. Why is that?
Mm-hmm.
I got to focus on not even just focus on the business that basically makes it seem as everything is financial and transactional, but you're never going to be a client. You're never going to be my friend. I don't have time for this. But since we want to go there and it looks, because from your perspective, everything looked like it popped for me, the tempering of the success and what it really took.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're fed the story about people getting like trust funds. You're fed the story of somebody, but to get it out the mud is not just what you say. It is like your feet being wet.
Mm-hmm.
I think back to what it felt like to eat out of garbage cans or to ride the subway in the cold.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my God, I just realized something. February 27th, 2017, 6 years ago, I started at the Bowery Mission Women's Center. And I was there almost 2 years. And I dealt with people saying, who am I to ever think I'd ever, I was on Shark Tank. That's the best I'll ever do. Oh my God, I thank you, God, because you were so day specific with me. I walked out of homelessness September 1st, 2018. And I've never been back. I'm still in my pastor's house. When the pandemic happened and there was a moratorium on paying rent, do you know I'm paying? His man and his wife have sheltered me. And I just want to do good. Having been evicted from 2 apartments previously in my other lifetime. And I'm sorry, I was just having that moment of, oh my God, it's been
right
6 years. Oh my God. Thank you.
Yeah. Wow. And I think that's what's wild is like when we're there, that, that first day that I decided that I wasn't going to be in that house, I was going to be somewhere, I slept on couches. I waited in bars until people let me into their houses, like you, I waited for people to leave their leftovers at restaurants. And then I, would go eat their food. I would snatch their fries, and like to look at where we are now and to know, I think, only speaking for myself, I believed it could get better, even though it was still very hard. And I don't know why I believed, but I just knew that I had to keep going forward. And now we're here, several years,
right.
So far away from where we were.
It's like persistence and consistency is resistance, but it's not like you always are fighting. Mm-hmm. Sometimes a surrender is what you need, just to be taken out of the world. Not working, and to be around women and sisterhood, of opportunities to just be still and to volunteer and all those other kind of things. And so I just want you to know, wow, I woke up this morning and it just felt like an awesome day already.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I felt that too. It felt like I was like, I don't know why, but it's the right day for this. And I was even terrified because you signed up first for the first podcast. And I was like, Precious for the first one? I was like, I was so like nervous. And I was like, that's my biggest guest as the first one. And I was like, but like I said, if I passed out, you would carry the whole show. So I know it's going to be okay. But yeah, I feel it too.
Your girl, you're going to be about that life. Your girl going to be about that life.
It's the improv for me. I can get through it.
Yeah.
Can get through anything. Okay, so to getting us back on track about professionalism, the question I next want to ask you is, what do you want to build to replace the concept of professionalism as it stands? How can we make what professionalism was irrelevant and create something new and better?
First of all, I think the first thing is just redefining what a professional looks like. There's a queen, her name is Lisa, and she's with Pegeen's, oh God, or Women Pro, and she has this hashtag, this is what a professional looks like. And she wears pink and colors and feathers and all that stuff as a speaker. And I remember I submitted a little photo of myself. I said, this is what a professional looks like. And I probably was all glitterati, colored out and everything. There was nothing wrong with if that worked at that time. But there's so many other professions that are showing up that are accepting what authenticity and transparency looks like. Do you realize we went from a time where everything had to sound perfect to get you somewhere? And now people are imperfectly perfect and beautifully human. Mm-hmm. And that gets you more because you know that they went to hell and back. I think another thing is, just like with the speaking profession, just like with marketing, just like with podcasting, just like you can do it the way it might have been done, or you can take the path less chosen. And that'll make all the difference. So for me, being a professional is what you make of it and understanding your audience. So my audience is not usually looking for, I'm always thinking about the visual part of it, but even internally, what do I want to represent to the world? If people say age, race, class, sex, sexual orientation, differently abled, disabled, are all the isms, the perceived flaws, let's make them our secret weapon. Mm-hmm. They'll never see us coming.
Because they'll underestimate us.
Oh yeah, they'll be like, I've studied. See, we are always forced to study those who become billionaires or extreme wealth. And their stories never sound like the stories of those who came from nothing, obviously. Mm-hmm. But my story is just as valid. And I will dare to also say that when people, tired of these rags to riches stories, I'm like, how many rags to riches stories have you heard? Or are you hearing the, I was given something and and downplay that because most people are never going to have that story. Mm-hmm. So the ones who get it out the mud, the ones who put in that work, who invested their lives, who want to succeed like their next breath. This is what a professional looks like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm fighting for, I think you said in a previous thing about if there's not a seat for me at the table, I'm going to build a new table and invite other people to it. Like, that's right. The thing I'm saying is like, throw the doors open.
The first Black woman to run for president of the United States, she said, if there ain't a seat at the table, bring your own. And I believe that. I was reading Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg, and I just couldn't identify with it. First of all, of course, she's an accomplished woman. Of course, high when it comes to education. But as a Black woman from St. Louis, Missouri, who I don't have an Ivy League education or anything like that, but I teach at them, so now what? So what I will say is I've always seen women of color at the table because usually they're the only one. And so if you're not at the table, decisions are made about you and your community, and they've never asked what you need. Mm-hmm. So I got to be at the table to understand, was it disparate impact versus disparate intent, right? I'm bringing that from the constitutional law, but just understanding that if I am not here, there are things that are going to be done that could, totally destroy an entire community and their progress. So if I got to build another table, I will. However, I'll still be at your table like this. And I won't be silent.
Yeah. Yeah, rock the table a little bit. I hear you.
Right. That's why it's important. Like, so when I'm booked at certain, like SaaS conferences, like I was just at a conference in November of last year. And, I'm looking around the room and the companies had to have a minimum of $20 million in revenue to even be there. And I was a speaker. Mm-hmm. I'm looking around and I go to some of these brain dates where you can meet with the expert and ask these questions. And I happen to be looking. And I went to a couple of the brain dates, and they were these really esteemed white men who had these awesome companies. And I'm sitting there listening, and nothing was above my pay grade. Nothing. Mm-hmm. I didn't have to be in tech or anything like that, but I understood. So when my brain date came, people were asking me, "Oh, we'd love to come to your brain date." I said, "I think it's full." They came anyway. Mm-hmm. So we're there having my brain date. And one of the gentlemen says, like he was trying to rush me. And the most beautiful thing is because I'm not in my 20s and 30s, I wasn't flustered at all. I let him know politely how I run my brain date. And it's going to run like this. And then we're going to get to your question. Thank you.
Yeah.
What I didn't expect was for him to come back later and say, we could use you training our sales team. So that was a flex. You're trying to flex on me and see if I'm going to back down, but I won't.
Mm-hmm. And you did it respectfully and like in your own way.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Didn't have to go Real Housewives because I don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
But I will match wits with you. I won't even raise my voice. Isn't that beautiful?
And it is your brain date. Like this is your container. Like people are there for you. And so, yeah, I love that. The next question I have on my list for you is I have listened to a bunch of your interviews, read your books, and you do get asked a lot of the same questions over and over again. So what are the questions that you wish people would ask, and how would you answer them?
I wish people would not often ask me about business, but about personal challenges that don't deal with homelessness or addiction or even my upbringing, but just like what are the things I love to do for fun? And so, I love checking out the newest restaurants. I love breaking bread with my friends and new friends. I've rediscovered a love for networking, but not in the way people think it is. Like I go in a room and I got to pass out. I'm not passing out no business cards, but just being so engaged with others. I love that I'm invited to events that I can't post. I'm just in the moment. I love that I wake up every morning asking my Heavenly Father, who can I contact today to let them know I see you. Keep going. And that's when I started to know I have changed as a person because it's not about me. It's about the next generation that comes behind me. What are my favorite foods? I love some delicious eats from around the world. What are some of the things I watch YouTube to understand? What are the most expensive restaurants in the world? How do chefs of the greatest chefs in the world make that thing? So I'll sit and watch Wolfgang Puck. I'll watch like some of the Michelin star restaurants, and like whoever the chef is will create an incredible dish. And I'm sitting there like, I can't even make the cheap version of that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's their version of the magic.
So it's not just the Wagyu beef. It might be like a particular type of tuna, right? It might be these ingredients you just cannot get anywhere. Like I was watching something on an Indian restaurant, like all the way in India. And I was like, I just want some of that right now. Like I want somebody to fly me to Paris and I'm going to eat wherever that is, And I've been blessed because of my education and because of the circles I've run with to love fine dining and also holes in the wall. Let me say it again, holes in the wall. You got some good food?
Mm-hmm.
You got a hole in the wall from St. Louis, Missouri. So I know what holes in the wall, the juke joints and, food that is a crowd pleaser to the local, and most people wouldn't know that. Like, listen, I eaten some amazing food in my life. International palate. I also love watching TED Talks on like loneliness and things that you wouldn't really think about. In fact, I was invited to a TED event here in New York, a TEDx TED event. And first of all, I didn't know TED had a building in New York City. Did you know that? Because I
did not know that. Yeah.
Oh, but I guess when you invited VIP, he's like, oh, okay. So they had these speakers come from Canada, it's Destination Canada TED event. And they had speakers talking about effort porn, perversion, but not in a way you think it is. It's not like sexual perversion. It was like Let's say everyone's a great singer and there's someone who just, I wish I could just sing off key just because I want to do it, right? Youth activism, architecture using new types of materials that isn't concrete, isn't brick or anything. Like I learned from 14 different speakers. Just or what if you're an expedition coastal person, the coastal man, and you're used to taking people on adventures, but the pandemic happens. What do you do to keep the industry going when the borders, like I sat there in awe listening to psychologists, Jay-Z, Jing Zhu, she's a professor, and they were linking climate change to happiness. How does that even, we always talk about deprivation. And she's like, but what if in assisting climate change, you can add happiness? So she has a bunny. And a bunny has helped them eat, her and her partner eat vegetables. She feels better. She goes walking with the little bunny. She bikes. Like the things that you like, we're always thinking about deprivation. It's like, no, this could be an addition. And to have esteemed professionals in all walks of life, canning meat. I didn't know you could can meat. But that's a connection from the past to the present. So you go off to these big cities, but there's a connection that brings you home. Because if certain traditions aren't kept, then all it is about technology. And that is like I heard incredible 12 to 18 minute speeches. And when I say I ate elk, buffalo. What menu is that on in New York? Well, we just elk and buffalo and Arctic char and all that. Like, so it was an amazing experience to meet people from Canada, all walks of Canadian life, indigenous culture. I was blown. So those are the things I like to do that I don't want to show because I feel like I'm on Beyonce's year 4. I want to enjoy it. So as it's happening, let me enjoy it before I share. Allow me to connect with the cultures of the world in a local fair. What do people put love into? Not just money, not just, I need to build a bigger client base. What are the connections that bond us? And I found my communication. These are the questions that never get asked of me. Why do I like bold eyeshadow? Why am I not with the nude eyeshadow? I'm like, who wants to do the nude stuff when you could just be glitterati? Liberace, hair meadow. That's
It's like if you're gonna do it, have some fun with that.
Listen, in my 20s and 30s, listen, I was somebody else. So I want to enjoy the things that aren't so social media. Yes, I am watching YouTube because I want to see where I'm going. And I even decide, here's a question that I never get asked. Even though I grew up in poverty, even though I was abused, abandoned, all kinds of things, what were some of the fun things that I got to experience growing up? We were latchkey kids, so my mother wasn't home that often. We watched Nick at Night. And that's what I had, the Donna Reed show, the Monkeys, My Three Sons. We thinking this stuff is happening now. It just ain't happening in our neighborhood. Over time, I started watching the Arts and Entertainment Channel as a little Black girl. And I love Bill Curtis. He was an attorney turned journalist. He's the one who inspired me to want to travel when I got older. He had biography, 20th Century American Justice. That got me so involved in law. And then Court TV? Oh, yeah. Bill Curtis had he had a thing on a biography on Aristotle Onassis. So I didn't know Jackie O. I didn't know those things, right? But I said in my mind after watching Aristotle Onassis, when I make it big, I'm chartering a yacht, and me and my girls, we going to the Greek Isles, Scorpios. And we were like, why would you even think of Scorpios? Because that's where Aristotle Onassis is from. Who is that? Nobody talks about it. Does it matter? There are things I learned in my childhood. It was like reading was fundamental. And reading would take me places that no one else did. Why was I English major at Spelman College? Psychology with those statistics, we're not doing that. I wasn't good at math. But being able to read, I never thought I could read Shakespeare because really? Was I really being taught that? And I took to Shakespeare or, or reading poetry like a duck to water.
Hmm.
How shall I compare thee to a summer's day? But I love like the final two. So long as men can breathe, as eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. Oof. Elizabeth Barrett Browning. How do I love thee? Count. What? Stop it!
That's what people can do with words. It's crazy.
Or push you in and out of psych wards. What was crazy about that? I learned to write poetry in a psych ward. I always wanted to be able to rhyme.
Mm-hmm.
With my poems, I never could do it. When you got time in a psych ward, today I got time because today I got time. And so I started writing, and it was funny, love poems and fighting poems, like this internal fight within me to want to beat down everyone who said that I couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
But also, is that what I want to spend my life doing?
Mm-hmm.
Or do I want to give life to the dreams that I had, regardless of if anybody believed in me or not? Yeah. That was a question. And you're like, where we going this? Okay.
No, I love it. I love like hearing that you found poetry in the psych ward in order to reckon with like the simultaneous like anger and desire to help. Because I don't know about you, but so much of what motivates me is I know too well the pain. And when I see other people experiencing pain that I've experienced, I have to help. I have to jump in. And if there's something I can offer, I'm going to offer it. And so that's why half of what I do, I provide for free, because I just want people to have the resources. And if I put the time into the research because I needed that resource 3 months ago, then somebody still needs it. And to me, it's not about, similar to what you said, it's not about making tons of money and being really rich. It's about who do I impact in a positive way? Who do I help out? And how do I give thanks to the people who helped me when I was in the muck by continuing their legacy of pulling the next person after?
Right.
Yeah. And I just appreciate you a lot. I think you've got a similar orientation.
That was a great question to ask me, because it's like, don't never ask me about this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the way I could tell is that I listened to a few, and I know you have like a perfect pitch answer for some of the questions you get all the time. But like I said, I hope this is unlike any podcast you've been on.
It started off that way, so it got to end that way. We're gonna start off with like a poem, about me and what I bring. And you're right. I think, and I started thinking about like actors, like let's say they have a big movie coming out, they're asked the same questions, and it's irritating over time. But that's part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So when someone can ask you something that it's just, ooh, I want to sink my teeth into that. Oh, yes.
And you know what my secret sauce is? I'm just genuinely curious.
Yes.
I just pull from that. It seems like everything turns out.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
So then I have sort of a closing type question for you, which is in two parts. One is, what are you working on right now that you're excited about, whether it's personal or professional? And two, how can people find you if they want more Precious in their life?
Oh, I love that. I love that. I love that. So I'll answer the second one first. So if you want to get in contact with me, again, my name is Precious Williams, proud founder and CEO of Perfect Pitches by Precious. My website is www.perfectpitchesbyprecious.com. On Facebook, I'm at Perfect Pitch P. On Twitter, I'm at Perfect Pitch P. On LinkedIn, I am Precious L. Williams, Killer Pitch Master. Got to stay on brand. And YouTube, Perfect Pitches by Precious. It is Instagram at Perfect Pitches P. I got to tell you what is exciting me so much right now. Number one, my international speaking engagements this year. Number two, you would think Mondays are the worst days. And I have to find for my business it's the best day, because people will reach out of the woodworks. Hey, we're thinking about you. Can we talk about it? Okay. Even though I try to keep it as a calm day. Number 3, my 5th book. I just turned in the manuscript, Rainmaking 101 from Day One for attorneys, which goes along with a program that I've created for sales professionals and attorneys. And another thing I'm just so excited about is I am 5 years out of the darkest time of my life. And I'm smiling. And I'm so thankful that in those quiet moments, your second chapter will be better than your first. Speaking of South by Southwest, paid speaking tour in Cali coming up. And so I'm glad that even in a pandemic, economic downturn, social unrest, inflation, recession, all the craziness, monkeypox, cooties, I am still the only choice that matters in what I do. And as I pray for those who lose their positions, I pray over time they realize that there was something else coming. It's better. And you don't see it in a moment because, girl, when I was homeless, I don't know about you, I wasn't happy until my eyes, something came over my eyes and I realized I had to lose it all to win again. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not bound by all this other stuff that everybody else is bound by. I don't need Fendi, Gucci, Balenciaga to be happy. I could be on the high and the low at the same time. Dude, I can make some things that look toe up from the flow up, look like $1 million. Mm-hmm. The light that shines within. So those are things I'm looking forward to, and also operating as a projector and not the generator I was for 30 plus years. I am a projector, and my light shines and attracts others to me. Instead of what I used to be like, I'm gonna make it happen. No, it's let the invitations come in, and they're better.
I love that, and I really can't say how grateful I am to you for spending time with me today and for sharing what you've shared. I can't wait to show this to the world. Yeah, I mean, I will say we're planning to come to New York and visit Brooklyn with my daughter in a couple months. So I might want to see if you want to get, a coffee in Brooklyn, or, show me one of your favorite holes.
We get coffee and tea. That's what we talking about, because I like tea. Mm-hmm.
I would love that.
So you get some good coffee, I get some good tea.
Well, I have your number now, so I'll just let you know.
You sure do.
Okay, well, this is, I guess, the end of my first podcast. Thank you for being here, Precious. I'll record an outro with more official stuff, but okay, I guess that's it. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Have a great day. Go for your dreams. We love you. Okay, we did it. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you times a million to Precious Williams for being my very first guest, which I very much appreciate. And go make sure to check out Precious. There'll be links below the show notes for all things Precious if you want to learn from her, buy her books, hire her, just generally soak in the incredible light that she is projecting in this world. Thank you so much for being here. Also, if you want to be a part of my world, I have an extremely affordable community where I teach digital marketing strategies to anyone and everyone who has unusual problems to solve. We have artists, we have coaches, we have all kinds of human beings doing all kinds of business out there who are typically underserved by traditional sales and marketing. And I'm here to serve you. So the community is called the Magical Weirdo Community. It is $37 for the first 3 months, and you get a shirt that says, I support small local weird businesses. If you just want one of those shirts, let me know. I can also send you a link to that. In the Magical Weirdo Community, we are brainstorming about your offers and your ideas with other people who think outside the box. We are doing weekly group coaching where I walk you through automation, how to use Canva templates, scheduling, just basically how to remove the toil and stress out of talking about your business all the time. We also talk about unusual ways to get attention for your business, such as pulling public stunts or being on other people's podcasts. I will always support you in doing whatever the heck you want. However, if you don't want to learn how to do digital marketing, you can always hire me and my team at identitypending.com to help you with sales funnels, technical SEO, social media content automation. If you don't want to put your face on social media, we solve for that. If you have a disability and you can only show up once per week on social media, we have a solve for that. So the point is there is room and space for you to win, and we want you to win. So if you need something, get into the community, reach out to me. We want to help. There's tons of free resources on my blog, on my social media. I love answering questions. Wait, now hold on. There's one thing I forgot to tell you. If you want to be on the Anti-Professional podcast because you have something burning inside of you that has to get out and be shared with the world about dismantling the current state of professionalism and building something so cool that previous concepts of professionalism are no longer relevant, then let me know. And you can fill out the podcast application. I'd love to talk to you. But yeah, just thanks for being here, I guess. It was really nice of you to listen to all this. And oops, I burped. Have a great day.